Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today, on the Gaming Gig podcast, we're talking about Tears of the Kingdom, we're talking about frame rates, and we're talking about if anything is a true competitor to the Nintendo Switch. Alright, Randy, so I don't know if you've heard, but there's this game that's like on the way, right? It's kind of a niche, kind of indie kind of thing, but it's the next Legend of Zelda game, right? It's called Tears of the Kingdom, if you haven't heard. And they dropped a trailer this week.
What they say is the final trailer.
And I hope it is, because I don't need any more.
I didn't need this one.
I didn't
oh man.
I didn't need one.
Yeah, true.
But holy crap, this trailer was awesome.
Yeah, talk about a big trailer. I mean, this was like one of the most epic trailers I think I've ever seen for a game. And yes, I'm biased. I'm super excited about this game. But you talk about really well put together.
It was, I hadn't thought about it in that way. But it probably is, because it was really, really well done. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I think about great game trailers, at least recently, the first one that came to my mind just now, just off the cuff, was Last of Us Part 2. I remember when I saw the first trailer for that and saw the gameplay in it, I was sold immediately. I thought it looked amazing. The next one that came up was Tekken 8. That trailer, that initial trailer was amazing.
Very visually impressive. Yeah.
And that's what I need.
Yeah.
I need a game to just like catch me visually. That doesn't mean it has to have like the most photorealistic graphics, but
yeah. Well, in terms of this Tears of the Kingdom trailer, I watched it live because they live streamed it, and I had my headphones on and I was at my computer, and I'm not gonna lie, chills, man. Yeah. I got chills. It was amazing.
Well,
it was something else.
I watched it that afternoon during my planning period at school, and I mean, we can just talk about it, right? Like we don't have to say, and it's not a movie. So anyway, spoilers.
There's no spoilers for a trailer.
When they actually showed Ganondorf, I went, yes! Alone in my classroom.
Yep, that Ganondorf moment was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It looks like we're gonna have Ganondorf for sure. Now there was I don't know if it's Ganondorf or it's Demise or there was another thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I guess we'll have to see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. We're definitely gonna have Ganondorf
for sure. Sure. Ganondorf's confirmed.
And have you seen the tweet that they put out? They had like some art for Ganondorf.
The character model.
Yeah, the character model.
Uh-huh.
Was he shirtless there?
I think so.
He looks freaking epic.
Yeah, everyone's talking about how Ganondorf is like a thirst trap now. Like people.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Sexy Ganondorf.
Yeah. Well, I hope that whenever we get a new Smash game, they finally update Ganondorf, and I hope they use that character model because it looks freaking awesome.
At least give us sexy Ganondorf as a skin.
Don't even give me the option to not have sexy Ganondorf. I want sexy Ganon.
Right, that's hilarious.
I didn't think he was sexy Ganon. I didn't realize that was his name, but now he is.
Yeah. So now we have a poll saying, did the final Tears of the Kingdom trailer convince you to pick up the game, assuming you weren't planning on it already? Yeah. So here's what the results on that one, Daniel.
Well, at 65%, people said, yes, I'm sold. At 17%, they said, no, not for me. And at 18%, they said, still unsure.
And just for reference, anytime we have a game that over 50% of people say they're interested in, that's really big because it never happens that we get polls where over 50% of people say they're going to pick it up.
And, assuming that everybody just followed the rules of this poll, these are only people who weren't already picking it up.
Yeah, I don't think that's happened. I'm sure that people just put yes. Yeah. Even I know if I saw this, I would say, yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Even though I was already sold, but still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have to say no. This did not convince me to pick up the game because I was already sold. So.
Yeah, but that was not an option.
But I'm a little pedantic.
Yeah, you're a pedant, of course. So we got a comment here from Guy. Guy said, there was so much in there that it knocked me off the fence into pre-ordering. The Ganondorf reveal was honestly perfect, and him being voiced by Matthew Mercer just makes it even better. It's crazy that it's going to be released next month.
Who is Matthew Mercer?
I don't know. Matthew Mercer. The name does semi-ring a bell for me, but that could just be because it's a pretty common name, Matthew Mercer.
This guy.
What did he do? Obviously he's a voice actor.
Yeah, it looks like. Is that JoJo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I don't really know.
I don't know anything about that at all.
I don't either. Anyway, he's done a lot of roles in animation and video games. So
Okay, cool. So there you go. Any big things that I would know or no?
Monsters University.
Okay, there you go. Sold. No, I've never seen Monsters.
Let's go to his IMDb here.
Oh gosh. Oh, Matthew Mercer. But the thing, as you're doing that, the thing that is crazy to me is that yes, we are like now a month out from the game being released. And it feels weird because like we've been waiting for years and years and years, and it feels a little surreal knowing that it's actually coming out like within a month. It's just crazy that it's actually going to happen. Like this is real. This is not, not a drill. We're really getting the game. So what did you find out?
Just some highlights. He was in Thundercats, Fire Emblem Awakening. He was Chrom in Fire Emblem Awakening. He was in Batman Arkham Origins. He was Leon in Resident Evil Damnation. He was in Fire Emblem Engage. He was in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Well, there you go. He's got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Overwatch 2. He was in Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Yeah, he's pretty prolific.
He's
Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns. Okay, so he's done a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Matthew
Demon
Mercer.
Slayer. Yeah, he's done all sorts of stuff. And that's cool because I honestly haven't been crazy about the voice.
What we've heard is not. I mean, it seemed pretty standard anime villain to me.
Yeah, it did to me too. So maybe
it'll be better
he's going to bring
think.
more than we realize.
Yeah, maybe it'll be better than we think. Right? Yeah.
It definitely sounded kind of standard anime villain, and in my opinion, every anime villain voice actor, at least in English, has got to be compared to whoever voiced Madara in Naruto, because he did a speech at the end of that show. Randy, chills
on that speech.
And if you watch anime, you know what I'm talking about.
So, yeah. So, Progs39 said, still think the game is too similar and mid. But, I know. But Zelda's pretty cute, so I'm sure I'll play it inevitably.
Oh, okay, good.
Turned around there.
Whew.
My thought...
Scared me there, Progs.
I mean, Nintendo's got to appeal to everyone, They got to do every tactic they can to get the people who are on the fence to come in. And if that means giving, Zelda a haircut and making her look cute,
And sexy Ganon and cute Zelda.
Right? They're Nintendo's thirst trapping everybody now.
Straight up.
They're trying to get you to play no matter what. But, I mean, I don't think the game's going to be... I think it will be similar. I mean, there's going to be a similar map, but there's a whole lot more. I mean, all these new abilities mean the game is going to feel different, even if a lot of the locations are going to be very similar.
I am excited about, it looked like we were seeing, some settlements being kind of rebuilt in some places that were decimated during the calamity. So I'm excited to see kind of Hyrule in restoration. Mm-hmm. But I'm also kind of confused about it because, I mean, I just want to know, why are we in trouble again?
Yeah. I'm sure we'll figure that out. My question, will Terrytown be there?
I thought about Terrytown as well.
Will Terrytown be there? And if Terrytown is there, what state is it in? Because Terrytown is an optional thing, and you could have built it partially. You could have built it all the way. You could have not built it at all. So I'm really interested in seeing
I built it all the way for sure.
Me too. Yeah. I went and gathered so much wood.
Me too. I went down to those woods, and I just bombed the crap out of some trees. All right. Landon Stalling says, I thought the new abilities were interesting, but I really didn't like Breath of the Wild. If you don't re-release Twilight Princess in the next year, I may pick it up if it's different enough.
If they, not you.
Oh, sorry.
He doesn't want you to re-release.
I read this as a threat.
If you don't re-release...
I thought he was talking to Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
I don't think Landon would do that. I don't think Landon would threaten Nintendo or us.
If you don't re-release Twilight Princess...
Yeah, it's definitely a threat.
Yeah.
No, but if they don't re-release Twilight Princess next year, I may pick it up if it's different enough.
Landon, I'm curious why you didn't like Breath of the Wild, man.
I mean, not every game's for everybody, man.
That doesn't mean I can't be curious about why you didn't like it.
True. You're allowed to be curious.
I like Landon. I just want to know why you didn't like it.
Well, that's true. I think I love Breath of the Wild, but at the same time, Breath of the Wild is it's an undertaking of a game. There's a lot that type of game doesn't appeal to everybody.
Yeah,
some people like a game that's a little more, tightly knit and just a quick experience. And Breath of the Wild is not that.
I don't think Twilight Princess is either. It's definitely more linear.
I've not played Twilight. That's the one 3D Zelda game I haven't played.
Yeah, I haven't played it either, but I know it's not open world like Breath of the Wild.
Right.
But it's also not going to be a short.
Twilight Princess, that's the gritty one.
That's the gritty one, yeah.
I haven't played the gritty Zelda yet. I really want to play it.
You haven't hit the gritty on Zelda yet?
I haven't hit the gritty on Zelda yet, not yet.
I read an article the other day about all the different versions of Ganondorf because, I told you about how my friend Tatum, I have this friend, and he loves Breath of the Wild, but it's the only Zelda he's ever played, clearly, because he texted me after he saw the trailer, and he asked, he sent me a picture of Ganondorf, and he said, "This guy looks bad." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm excited about Ganondorf." And he goes, "Do we get to fight him? Is he like part of the Ganons?" And I was like, "Oh, you sweet summer child, you know nothing."
You know nothing.
So I gave him a quick history lesson, but that led me to an article about the different versions of Ganondorf and which version people think is the best. And a lot of people love the Twilight Princess Ganondorf.
I would be interested. I got to play it. That's the one game. That's like the one hole in my Zelda knowledge in terms of the 3D Zeldas. I got to go in there. I got to get it.
Got to go in there.
I got to go in there.
But before we go in there, we want to tell you about our Twitch. So we stream on Twitch not once, not twice, but thrice a week. That's Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. We stream at 8 p.m. Eastern, and you should come join us over at twitch.tv/game-and-gig, all words.
Yeah, if you like hanging out with us here on the podcast, you probably like hanging out with us live on Twitch. And if you don't want to type in the URL, it's in the description of the videos and wherever you get this podcast.
Clicks for the win.
Yeah, the link is there for our Twitch channel. All right, so a thing that came up this week was that Redfall announced that it was only going to be getting a 30 FPS mode at launch. And this kind of ties back to Tears of the Kingdom, because people were saying, like, everyone was upset that Redfall wasn't getting a 60 FPS mode at launch. It's only getting a 30 on consoles, I should say. On PC, it is getting a 60 FPS mode.
PC Master Race.
But on consoles, only 30 frames per second. But people were like, Tears of the Kingdom's only going to be 30 frames per second, and no one is talking about it at all. Like, why is everyone so upset about Redfall only being 30 frames per second on console, but Tears of the Kingdom, like, people don't even care?
I think people have different expectations for Nintendo. I think that's probably a big part of that.
I think so, but I also think, like, yes, people have different expectations for Nintendo, but I think also that the more hyped the game is, the less people care about that. Like, think about, like a good example I heard from someone was Red Dead Redemption 2. Only runs at 30 frames per second, but no one cared. I never heard anyone complain that Red Dead Redemption 2 was 30 frames per second.
Me neither. Never even thought about it.
Because it's just such a big game. Like, people are going to play it no matter what the frame rate is. But Redfall, they're trying to sell you on Redfall.
Right.
We have no experience. Redfall's a new IP. Like, it is Arcane, and like, people do like Arcane games, but it's not like they hit it out of the park every single time.
Right.
So they're trying to sell you on it. So it's like, it is kind of disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, I do prefer frame rate to resolution. I am one of those. But I can't, I mean, if it ran at a locked 30, I can't say that it would matter that much to me, but...
A lot of people are saying, it's a shooter, so like, it's very actiony, and they want it to be higher frame rates because they're good for that. Especially this being an online, like, you can play with other people and like.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time obsessing over frame rate in the past while, since I got my Steam Deck, especially because I'm trying to like balance like efficiency and battery life and power and frame rate, and I've decided that if I can get 30 or 40 frames, I'm pretty much fine. Of course, that's a small screen, except in something, like you said, competitive, like a fighting game. I want to get 60.
Will you go down as low as you need to get it to play at 60 frames a second if it's really competitive? Like, you don't care what the resolution is?
I've never had to drop the resolution below 720 for any game I've tried to play that I wanted to get 60 out of.
Okay.
So like those are only, I mean, the only games I'm talking about are Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, and Guilty Gear Strive, and all those run at a really well locked 60
at 720.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's still, a lot of people would say that's low. So, I mean, like...
Well, the Steam Deck can only do 800, so...
You're on the screen. Right?
Yeah, on the screen.
Right.
But yeah, I do play it on my TV in 720. So.
Yeah.
And I really don't think it looks bad.
No, the other day, you were playing, I think it was Street Fighter, and I came in and noticed, I was like, I think that's fairly low res. And I was like, what resolution are you playing that? And I assumed it was 720 based on what it looked like. But you changed it to 1080 just to see what it looked like, and it didn't really look that much different.
I actually realized I don't think it looked different at all.
Oh.
I think we were placeboed because
I didn't. Well, that makes sense because we were like, oh, it doesn't make much of a difference, does it?
Yeah, because
So I guess we weren't placeboed.
That's true, I guess. We were like, the background may be less fuzzy, but
Yeah.
we because I changed it in the Steam Deck settings, but once you launch the game, you have to go into the game settings and change it.
And then
there.
change it again, so you hadn't. Yeah. Well, that makes sense as to why we couldn't tell a difference because there was no difference.
Yeah.
But that brings us to our poll about this, where we asked, do you care / think about frame rate when gaming? And I mean, only 14% of people said that they don't think about it or care about it. And, half and half, 43 said yes and sometimes. So most people do think about it and care about it.
Yeah, I'm in that sometimes camp. I guess.
I would say sometimes, but I almost lean towards no. And that is, I'll talk more about it in a second, but basically, if the frame rate is consistent, if it's at like 30, it looks fine to me. I only notice or care about frame rate when I see like crazy dips and it like goes into like 15 frames. I'm like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
If it takes me out of the experience, is the literally only time I care about it.
And that doesn't really start to happen to me until we get below 30.
Same.
30 is the floor, if you ask me, though.
Right. But I think a good 30, it tends to look pretty good to me.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Miss Foe, old Heather Cook herself, said 60 or 120 is nice, but what's really important is that it's 30 or above and most of all consistent. So
yeah, it's pretty much exactly what we just said. Yeah. 60 and 120 is nice. Now, I will say, there's diminishing returns there. I definitely noticed 60 looking like really fluid to me. I've played a couple games at 120, and I honestly don't know that I could tell the difference between 60 and 120 personally. Like maybe I could if I was like really paying attention, but in the times I've like toggled it on just to like see what it's like, because I do have 120 hertz TV, I really can't tell the difference between 60 and 120.
I definitely can see it. I mean, it doesn't mean 60 is bad, but I definitely think I can see a difference between 60 and 120, because I used to play Sea of Thieves at 120, and I noticed.
Oh, really?
I definitely noticed that it was super smooth.
See, that's where I've tried it, is on Sea of Thieves. And I remember thinking that like 60 looked pretty similar to 120 to me, but
I mean, I remember noticing it in the sword swipe. Like when you would swipe your sword, I remember thinking like it looked way smoother and
well, yeah, it should. I mean, 120 frames is a lot of frames in a second. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, and I know that when I look at like 120 hertz screen on something like a phone, I can definitely notice that it's smoother. But the smaller the screen, I think the more noticeable it is. I don't know. Maybe less. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
But I can notice it on a phone.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Here we
hit
go.
us with Celeria Rose.
Celeria says, I would say it's important though. Personally, I wish more devs would prioritize a solid frame rate over shiny graphics. I'd much rather a less graphical impressive game that runs smoothly than a gorgeous game that can't maintain a consistent frame rate.
Agreed.
Yeah, and this makes me think, like, we were talking about Redfall and how Redfall's only going to have this 30 FPS mode. It's going to be like, I'm sure it's 4K 30. Okay. On like, say, new consoles like the Series X or the PS5. Actually, I guess it'll just be on Series X.
Yeah.
It's not going to be on PS5. But on Series X, I'm sure it's 4K 30.
Oh, yeah, got to be.
What kind of backlash do you think that Arcane or Xbox would get if they said, hey, at launch, we're not going to have a 4K mode. We're just going to have 1080 60. And that's what you're going to get. Do you think there would be a similar level of backlash to that? If they said, like, there's no 4K, it's just 1080 60. We're prioritizing frame rate over graphics.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I think I like frame rate better than graphics, but I only care. See, I think there's a space where I flip, because I think I would rather have 4K 30 than 1080 60, but I would rather have 1080 120 than 4K 60.
Right. But it is, you're right. That's a real gray area, isn't it? That would be an interesting poll to do. Like, you have to choose one. Is it going to be 4K 30 or is it going to be 1080 60? Like, which one would you choose?
I would choose 4K 30. And I think most people would, because I think most people are, like, resolution is what's sexy, you know? This is the version of the podcast where we say sexy a lot, I guess.
Or this is the sexy podcast.
Well, I almost said that, but
Yeah.
It's always been that. But
That's
anyway,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
You lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I think people are kind of drawn to the resolution.
I do too. But I think that I know we're not going to see that. We're not going to see a game that comes out and they're like, "Ooh, we're not going to have a 4K mode. It's just going to be like we're going to prioritize frame rate at first, and maybe we'll get a quality sort of like fidelity mode down the road. But right now we're just prioritizing frame rate."
Buy our game though.
Yeah, I wonder if that's happened. I wonder if anyone can think of any examples of where that has happened. And I don't know. I haven't heard about it.
Me neither.
So we got Ty. We got some crazy username. Hit us with that comment.
Ty7 said, I can't really see a difference between frame rates. I'm not that picky about it, to be honest.
And if you can't see a difference, then you really, I mean, like, I think the average gamer probably doesn't. I mean, like,
No. I don't. I think you have to get real high.
you get real high.
Frame rate has to be really high.
Okay.
For most people to start seeing a big difference.
I think you got to get real high before you start seeing a difference. Okay. Sure. I mean, I'm sure that would help,
Maybe cut that out.
No, man, that's staying. That was I like bloopers.
I'm with you, Ty. Like, there's a certain, low frame rate, like 30 to 60. I mean, sometimes you just don't notice.
Oh yeah, it depends on the game. Like some games you really don't notice. You might notice something more like a competitive fighting game, but if you're playing like an action, action adventure game, you may not really notice at all.
Nope.
So we got Ray Chi who said, I can live with 30 frames per second, but it has to be eye candy graphically. When 2013 Son of Rome Xbox One looks better than Gotham Knights, there is a problem.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, like if it's 30, it needs to look good, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it's 30, make it look awesome.
Yeah, hit me
if
with
it
that.
Just looks mid.
Hit me with that ray tracing. Hit me with that, gorgeous 4K.
Give me that sweet, sweet ray tracing.
Ray tracing. We got to talk about that sometime.
Please,
I'll tell you, like,
Can I have some more of that ray tracing?
I do think ray tracing looks cool, but I think it is one of those things that makes a very small difference in like the grand scheme.
I've never, ever actually left a game on a ray tracing mode because it's always a hit, such a hit to your frame rate. And I'll like turn it on and be like, okay.
It just doesn't make that much of a difference. It's like little things, and I know it is subtle, and for some people, those little subtle details really increase immersion. It makes you feel like it's more realistic, and I do get that. And I think that there's a case to be made that ray tracing increases immersion, but for me, it's just such a small difference that I don't really need that extra level. It is cool, though. It looks good.
All right, we got Matthew Carson, who said, modern, yes, retro, no. Like, I can go back and play N64 Perfect Dark, and the 8 FPS doesn't bother me. But if Mario Odyssey started dropping frames, then death.
Yeah, right? It's true, though. I mean, like, back in the day, we had awful frame rates.
Yeah.
But it was what we were used to.
Yep.
I didn't even think about it. Never even thought it. When I was a kid, I never thought about frame rate once.
No.
Never. But now if I went back, and the thing is, he's saying like, if you go back and play those old ones, it doesn't bother you because that's just like, that's the way you remember the game running.
Now those old like side scrollers, like Super Nintendo games and whatnot, a lot of those were 60.
Some of them were, yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure by the time we got to N64, it was...
N64 was bad on frame rate.
Yeah. But we were right on the cusp of like a new generation, It's like...
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but now it's like, I'm sure Perfect Dark doesn't have good frame rates at all.
I bet it doesn't.
But, I mean, I'm sure they'll like, GoldenEye probably is horrible frame rate.
Probably.
But new games like Mario Odyssey runs at 60. I'm pretty positive.
It looks so good, too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Mario Kart runs at 60, looks very smooth, looks great.
Smash runs at about 8 a lot of the time.
If you're playing online, yeah. If you're playing online, it's going to run at like 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not even that. Maybe like 1 frame every 4 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. 1/4.
Yeah.
1/4 FPS.
Yeah.
There's some old fighting game. I want to say it might have been Mortal Kombat, like back in the day, that ran at like 54 FPS. It had like this random frame rate.
Interesting.
I don't remember because I've seen Retro Game Core use it to like test frame rate on like handheld emulators, and he'll be getting 60, 60, 60, and then he'll pop that one in and he'll be like, just so you know, or maybe it's 59 or something. It's something weird. And he'd be like, just so you know, this is full frame rate. This is what the game used to run at.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Then we got Scientific Apple here saying, I honestly don't care about frame rate until it becomes greatly inconvenient. And yeah, you're exactly right, because I'm definitely that way. Like, I just don't think about it or care about it until like it is, trash. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm watching a slideshow here. And that's the only time I start to care or get, invested in changing things around so that I can have better frame rate.
Yeah, once it brings my game down, like it's a problem.
Do you think, like some games don't give you the option to make adjustments? Like lots of Switch games specifically do not have any sort of graphical settings, so you can adjust them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if it runs, it doesn't bother me, but
yeah. I think about like Hyrule Warriors, the newest Hyrule Warriors, the Age of Calamity. Like that one ran at really poor frame rates. It didn't really bother me, but I remember thinking like, this is pretty bad. And there's no way to adjust it.
Mm-hmm. And the older Hyrule Warriors was even worse.
Oh, really?
From what I've heard.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just try to put too many characters on screen.
Oh, God, it was madness.
Speaking of putting too many characters on screen, there's a lot of characters who have been joining our Discord server.
What a characters! What a group of what a roster!
But we do want to let you guys know if we have a Discord server, and there's an invite link in the description of whether you're watching this podcast on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever you get the podcast. In the description, there should be a link that brings you to our Discord server, and we'd love to have you there.
Heck yeah. We get people that join it every week now. It's been super fun.
Yeah, and it's a great place to find out when we post the podcast, when we post videos, when we go live on Twitch. Also, we just sometimes sit and chat and talk games. Yeah. People share like clips of when they've been gaming and they do something epic, and we just all talk about it. It's fun.
It is.
So come hang out with us on Discord.
Come chill.
We'd love to have you there.
Moving on, we've got another poll here. We asked the Gaming Gig Faithful, which gaming platform do you consider to be the biggest competitor to the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah. And most people, 60% of people said consoles. And I think that's the obvious choice. But 7% of people said PC, 25% of people said Steam Deck, and 7% said mobile. And this poll was really inspired by the fact that the Valve announced that the Steam Deck has sold 3 million as of now, which is a pretty big number for considering that this is was an unknown handheld, and now it's sold 3 million within a year or something.
Yeah, I mean it's such a niche product, and to sell 3 million, I mean that definitely says that there's at least a market for it.
Yeah, and I felt kind of weird putting Steam Deck as its own option in this poll because the Steam Deck is a handheld PC. Like it is technically part of the PC realm, but I really wanted it to have its own spot because I figured that a lot of people would say the Steam Deck is a competitor to the Switch.
Yeah.
I personally don't think the Steam Deck is a competitor to the Switch at all.
I don't either. It feels like the same kind of role, and in fact, if you ask me, it does what the Switch does better. But it doesn't play the same games.
Right.
And like you said, it's a PC. It's just not the same kind of thing.
Well, the reason I say I don't think it's a competitor is that I think to be a competitor, you have to say like, you have an individual and they're considering like, do I buy a Switch or do I buy a Steam Deck? And they're going to have to choose between those. And I don't think that scenario comes up very much, if at all. I think if someone is considering buying a Switch, it's because they want to play the Nintendo games. And the fact that the Steam Deck can't do that automatically just makes it a non-competitor.
Yeah.
Well, I should say it can do that if you run an emulator on it, and
Yes, you can.
like we've talked about this.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, though. I don't think it really competes that much. That being said, I do think that there's an argument that consoles maybe I could use the same argument and say that even they don't really compete with the Switch.
Yeah, but I mean the Switch is a console.
It is a console.
It's part of the big three. And the Switch is so insanely mainstream, and the Steam Deck is not.
Right.
PlayStation is, Xbox is, Nintendo is. Steam is huge, but the Steam Deck itself, it's just a little bit of a small fry, to compete with the Switch.
Yeah. But at the same time, I kind of think that that no one really competes with Nintendo very much because Nintendo is so tied down and they don't let their games go anywhere else. And because of that, I don't really think that there's a whole lot of competition for it. Because at the end of the day, I think Nintendo, hardware isn't really what sells Nintendo hardware. I think it's the games.
Yeah, it is.
And, I used to think a similar thing about the PlayStation because they had a lot of exclusives. But now that they're porting so many PlayStation exclusives to PC, I do think that the PlayStation will become less and less of an island to itself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And you said something about how the software is what sells the Nintendo hardware.
Yeah.
I think Valve takes a similar approach, but they don't have those Nintendo exclusives. But that's why they are able to sell the Steam Deck so cheap, is because they're selling that at a loss and they know that they're going to make their money back on the Steam store.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what percentage Valve gets when they sell a game on Steam?
I don't know, but let me just guess. If I had to think, if I was I would think they'd probably take 10%. I don't know. 30%. Jeez.
You think about how much money Valve's whole headquarters is probably made of stacks.
No wonder they don't
stacks.
really make games anymore because they don't need to make games.
No,
that's not where their money's at.
No, and that's why you can buy a Steam Deck for $400.
Right. Oh man,
because they don't give a crap.
No, yeah, they just want you to buy more games on Steam. 30%. What?
Yeah, no, isn't that insane?
That is way more than I thought it would be. I just guessed 10 as I think that would, I would say if I was selling a game on Steam, okay, you say we take 10%, I'd be like, okay, that seems fair. 30 though, I'd be like, okay, I'll do it because you have to have your game on Steam.
Yeah, now I don't know if that's every single game. There may be games that have an exclusive deal or something.
Right.
But I heard that recently and it blew my mind.
Yeah,
and I also didn't fact check it. So I may be substantiating a rumor, but I think my source is credible.
Oh, man. Ooh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So we got a comment here from JT from somewhere who said Steam Deck has sold around 3 million, so not really big competition. Maybe Steam Deck 2 or 3.
Maybe.
I mean, do you expect the further iterations of the Steam Deck to pick up steam and sell more?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I think they're only going to get better.
It does seem like it's an expanding market. We're seeing more companies try to do this hybrid PC concept thing.
We're about to see some of those companies get absolutely eaten, though. When Asus launches this ROG Ally, pretty soon. It's coming out pretty soon, apparently.
Yeah.
Those smaller handheld gaming PCs that don't get on the Best Buy shelf like it's going to, and don't have Valve behind them, are going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. It's about to be like a two-fish pond.
That's going to be interesting for the Steam Deck. I'm interested. Mm-hmm. I think that competition is really good, and I'm glad because maybe we'll see some price cuts. Maybe Steam will be like, you know what, we're going to sell this at a real steep loss.
Dude, what if they did? What if they were like, okay, entry-level Steam Deck, $325.
Right.
That would be a steal. You'd be crazy not to have a Steam Deck at that.
That's why we need competition like that. That's why we need other people doing it.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, and I don't know what this Asus is going to sell for. It's going to be, my guess is it's going to be in the $700 to $800.
You don't think they're going to try to directly compete and like hit the price point?
I don't
think they can because they don't operate the storefront. Right.
They don't have that same luxury. So
they've got to beat them on like quality, and it's got to be performance has to be better. It has to be like substantially better.
And they say it is. And it's got a 120 hertz screen. So,
so there's some good stuff there.
Yeah. I think it's 1080, 120 hertz, but it may not be 1080. But what people just don't realize is you're not going to be playing like God of War at 1080, 120 on this thing.
No, you're not.
You might be playing Vampire Survivors.
Right.
Anyway, I'm still excited about it.
So this next comment, Daniel, I want you to read, but I want you to try to not be hurt. Okay. We're Nintendo fanboys. It's going to hurt you to read this.
Should I just close my heart to it?
Yeah, just close your heart. Go black.
iTranscendence says, None of these, because the Switch is so under-spec'd at this point that it's not competing with anything. You can literally emulate Switch games on most of these devices.
Yeah.
Should I open my heart back up?
Now you can. I should have had let you wait until it passed over.
The truth hurts so much.
No, the Switch is under spec, but the fact that it is sold so much means that it is not only competing, like it's, I would say that it is punching well beyond its weight. You know what I mean?
Beyond, yeah. And it is way under spec, and I've been saying that forever. So I totally agree. Mm-hmm. It's way too long in the tooth. It was under spec when it launched.
Right.
Nintendo needs to get it together. But like Randy said, it's sold a freaking bajillion trillion units for a reason.
Right. And it's all about the software. It's all about the games, Nintendo games, and they're not available anywhere else. And it is cool. The hybrid model was like there for, I would say, the first 2 years. Like, I think the idea of the hybrid model sold a lot of Switch units. Mm-hmm. But even once that wore off, and I do think it wore off fairly quickly, at least for me.
I still have a piece of that, man.
Well, I do too, but I do think like the novelty has completely worn off. It's just not the same anymore.
I would make the argument the reason the novelty is worn off is because it transcended the realm of novelty.
Right.
And just became amazing.
Right.
Like,
okay. Yeah, that's true.
It was like,
you have a point there.
I think we talked about that early in the Switch's lifespan. Like, this isn't a gimmick. Like, this is just great. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I remember like sitting down in a house like that wasn't mine, like with my Switch and playing like Breath of the Wild. Like, I remember texting Andy and being like, dude, this is insane. I'm playing Zelda right now. And it's the real Zelda. Like, it's the current Zelda. And I don't have a TV. Yeah. And he was like, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way when I play Switch or Steam Deck.
I think you're right. It's not, what's so cool is that like the novelty has worn off because it's just become this is the way it should be.
Yeah.
This is the new norm, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And I love Nintendo for that.
Yeah. So we got a comment here from, I don't know, there's not really a username. It's underscore 4762.
Yeah.
It says, consoles, no doubt, saying consoles compete with the Switch. Nintendo isn't even in the PC market. They consistently do well enough with their mobile games, and the Steam Deck is just a PC. Nintendo's home market is consoles.
Agreed.
I'd say that if I had to pick one, I'd say consoles, because I do think that there probably are scenarios in which a kid has to choose between getting an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Nintendo.
100%.
Like, I think that there's definitely times when that happens, and I don't think that it happens very often that someone's like, okay, you can get a Switch or you can get a gaming PC. Like, that probably doesn't ever come up.
No, probably not.
And probably a similar thing with the Steam Deck. And mobile? Does
everybody's got that now.
Does mobile compete with the Switch?
No, not really, because a lot of mobile games perform a lot better.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. He gives with one hand and he takes away with the other.
I mean, you think about like, the one that everybody brings up is Genshin Impact. Like, that game plays so much better than like the Switch games. Like,
well, I mean,
but
hey.
I'm not, I'm just saying, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know.
But Nintendo's mobile games do not get me going.
Well, I mean, the other day I was playing, I was on we were driving on a road trip to go visit my wife's family in Alabama, and we were driving, and she was driving, and I played a little Mario Kart Tour, and you know what? It was, I haven't played it in a long time, but it was passable. It's Mario Kart-ish.
I wanted that game to be awesome, and I just really didn't love it.
It's okay. I mean, it's something to pass time with. It's not bad.
My favorite Nintendo mobile games are the original Super Mario Run. I like Super Mario Run, and I like the Dr. Mario.
I haven't played that one.
That game's fun.
I liked Pokemon Go when it came out.
Oh, Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I like Pokemon Go. I liked Pikmin. I played Pikmin Bloom for a little while and liked it okay. But those aren't really they're games.
Yeah.
But they're not like they're so like catered to mobile that they almost don't feel like they compete at all with consoles, because they're like specifically meant to be played mobile. They're meant to be on your phone. They just feel so different.
Yeah. Man, I forgot about Pokemon Go. That thing took over for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's technically Nintendo. I mean, I know it's like Pokemon Company and like, I don't know. I don't really know much about that, but I know Nintendo has a hand in it at least.
That was a
Somewhat.
cool time. Like,
It really was.
It was pre-COVID, and it was
like-
like no matter where you went, people were just walking around, and they were all doing the same
What
thing.
year was that? 2016, 2017?
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels.
That seems a long time ago now.
Yeah, that was fun.
So I want to tell you guys about a secret code. Okay? We have a secret code that we use. If you made it all the way to the end of this podcast, you are among the very few % of people who actually make it to the end.
Yes.
Less than 10% of people make it all the way to the end. And that could be because we're not great podcasters, or it could just be that people have very low attention spans.
That's what it is.
That's definitely what it is. And so what we do is, if you make it all the way then, leave a comment, and somewhere in the comment put 3 for Dale. That's our secret code. That lets us know you made it to the end. And what we do is, everyone who puts that in the comments, we shout you out at the end of the next podcast just to recognize you for being awesome and making it all the way to the end with us.
And we got some real G's
We do.
in the 3 for Dale Club this week. Leading it off, Guy. Guy has been a trooper here lately, and he even hangs out with me on stream after you leave.
God, come on. That is amazing. I wouldn't hang out with Daniel if I didn't have to be there.
He watches me get my butt kicked in like whatever fighting game I'm currently trying to play.
And I feel bad because last week, Guy left his 3 for Dale as we were recording the last podcast.
That's
so
right.
I was like, I'll have to get you next week, Guy, but I got you. So thank you.
Yes.
And then also we got Landon Stallings, who
The president.
has, like, he is the president of the 3 for Dale Club. I mean, Landon, we can't say thank you enough. There was only one time that Landon missed being in 3 for Dale Club, and it's because we were talking about The Last of Us. We were spoilering it up, so he skipped the podcast because
skipped
he
it.
hadn't finished it yet.
Should we try to say thank you enough to Landon?
I mean, we could try, but it would take, I mean, the podcast, instead of being, like less than an hour, it's going to be hours long, and we can't do that. I got
you.
stuff to do today. I can't say thank you over and over.
Thank you.
He's going to try.
Thank you.
As he's saying thank you, Landon, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this. So until next time, guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
Thank you, Landon. And this has been Gaming Gig.
Thank out.